Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank our witnesses. Ms. Conley, good to see you in the Munich Security Conference. Well done there. Congratulations on your German Marshall Fund promotion. And Mr. Zackheim, keep doing a great job over at the Reagan Foundation there. Let me talk a little bit about, I think, what the broader implications are with regard to the Ukraine invasion. I think we've entered a new era of authoritarian aggression, and it's led by Russia and China's dictators who are increasingly isolated, driven by historical grievances, paranoid about their democratic neighbors, and willing to use military force to crush those neighbors, whether it's Taiwan or Ukraine, and are increasingly working together. I don't think the pre-Olympics joint statement by these two dictators has gotten the attention it deserves. Do you both agree that this is a new era, authoritarian aggression, and I believe we're going to be dealing with it for decades? What are your thoughts on this?
Senator, I agree. We see two authoritarian leaders attempting to create spheres of influence, and this will be a decade-plus process. We need to build strong and durable policies, not build to a crisis moment and then shift focus.
So let me ask about that. I think strategically there's two areas that this administration needs a massive course correction on, but I'd like both of your views, Mr. Zackheim. Number one is on the military budget. The President put forward a budget that, adjusted for inflation, was a pretty significant cut to our armed services. How do you think Xi Jinping and Putin reacted to the President of the United States cutting the defense spending for his own armed services? Do you think that was a sign of strength or weaknesses that impressed Putin and Xi?
I think it's interpreted as weakness, Senator, and weakness invites aggression.
Let me ask another question on energy. How important do you think America's energy role in the world, all of the above, oil, gas, renewables, is with regard to this new era of authoritarian aggression that we're going to be dealing with?
Senator, I think it's critical. The notion that somehow we are addressing our energy policy by increased reliance on autocrats and dictators is mind-boggling. It's a huge vulnerability, and it is an own goal, unnecessary.
So do you think Xi Jinping or Putin were impressed when this administration came in and fully, and continues to this day, I see it every day in my state of Alaska, that they came in and unilaterally started to disarm, undermine, and try to prevent, slow down, and stop the production of American energy? Again, how do you think the dictators in Beijing and Moscow view that move by the Biden administration?
Strategic opportunity, Senator, for them.
What do you think?
So I think we have two great strengths of among many, our allies and our energy security, and now our ability to export energy, and Europe is going to be the beneficiary of that strength.
So would you be in favor, from a national security perspective, not just working families who are paying much more at the pump, to work to increase the production of American energy? By the way, we have the highest environmental standards on the planet Earth. Trust me, I know that from Alaska. In the production of American energy, would you recommend for our national security that we increase the production and not try to undermine it? Would both of you recommend that?
Yes, Senator.
Absolutely.
Let me ask one final question on Taiwan. You know, deterrence after the fact, as we're seeing, and Mr. Zackheim, I think you already mentioned this, is really not deterrence. I think one lesson that we're already pulling out of this Ukraine situation is that the sanctions need to be ready to go prior to the invasion, not after the invasion. I have legislation that I've introduced that would, in essence, mandate massive sanctions, as big as we're seeing with regard to what's happening with Russia right now, massive sanctions against the Chinese Communist Party and key sectors of the Chinese economy, with very little discretion for these sanctions, if the Chinese Communist Party decides to militarily invade Taiwan. Would you support something like that, laying it out Xi Jinping, here's what you're going to get if you do this, have it pass, ready to go, so it can add a deterrent effect that we actually didn't have with regard to Ukraine. Would you care to comment on that approach to deterring a military invasion of Taiwan, both of you?
Senator, yeah, I would support that type of legislation, but also note, as we've seen in the case in Ukraine, that when an autocrat decides they're going to invade, they do it knowingly that they're going to have to pay a price economically and politically. And so it would be one component, as I'm sure you would agree, of a larger scheme of deterrence.
Senator, prepared sanctions, the clarity of that has deterrence effect. Our allies have to mirror that, and I think this has been the benefit we've seen when we've coordinated our sanctions. With Asian allies, European allies, they are very powerful. You also have to prepare for retaliation, making sure that there's solidarity funds. We see what the Lithuanians have had to endure, the Australians have had to endure. We have to provide support to our allies who take courageous steps as well, so that also has to be part of the mix.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.